You're just like your mother, always digging where you shouldn't. The words cut through the rain as Marianne stumbled back, one hand on her belly, the other, gripping a file that could ruin a man. The cliffs loomed behind her. For an instant, she saw his calm face, smiling, certain she wouldn't speak. But she wasn't her mother. Silence had already done enough damage. Before we dive in, let me know, what time are you listening to this and where are you? Drop a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. Marianne Hale arrived in Mendocino with one suitcase, a folder of unpaid bills, and a weariness that clung to her bones. The cab driver helped with her bag, nodded, and left. The old house stood still, as if waiting for her to breathe life back into it. It looked smaller now. The steps sagged, the porch carried a faint scent of cedar. She set her suitcase down and listened, not for ghosts, but for time that hadn't moved since her mother died. Bending carefully, she picked up a fallen picture frame, her mother by the window, coffee in hand, hair tied back. Marianne wondered what had been running through her head that morning, her maybe or all the words they never said. She found a broom by the pantry and began sweeping. Dust lifted and swirled, clinging to her arms. She coughed, then laughed softly. Pregnant, broke, sweeping a house that no longer felt like hers. The refrigerator hummed when she opened it. Empty. She drank from a half bottle of water, the baby shifting, a small reminder she wasn't alone. By late afternoon, she discovered the letter. It was tucked in her mother's writing desk, sealed in a cream envelope, her mother's handwriting curving across it. For Marianne, when she's ready. She turned it in her hands, almost opened it, then stopped. Not today, she whispered, sliding it back. A knock startled her. A tall man in work boots stood at the door, holding a rusted toolbox. Afternoon, he said. You must be Nora's daughter, Marianne. And you are Evan Porter. I live next door. Helped your mom with the fence when it kept falling every winter. He glanced around. Looks like this place needs more than a fence now. Probably beyond repair. He smiled. Nothing's beyond repair. Old houses hold things together, memories, secrets. What kind of secrets? Ones they never tell, he said, already stepping away. His boots crunched along the gravel until only the sound of wind remained. As dust settled, she sat at the kitchen table. The lamp glowed weakly above her. Bills blinked on her phone, one after another, each colder than the last. Seattle had drained her job, rent, love gone bad. Coming here wasn't a plan. It was all she had left. She pressed her hands over her face, willing herself to breathe. A car passed on the road, fading quickly. She locked the door and leaned against it. For a moment, she pictured her mother doing the same tired habit of checking locks before bed. She curled on the couch with a thin blanket, one hand resting on her stomach. We'll be okay, she whispered. Chairs scraped as Marianne slipped into the back of the town hall. The meeting was already winding down, voices circling over property lines and redevelopment plans. Faces turned briefly toward her, then away again. At the front, Dr. Lyle Carrington spoke with practiced ease, every word polished smooth. When he mentioned parcels marked for redevelopment, something tightened in her chest. Her mother's land was on that list. She raised a hand. Excuse me, Dr. Carrington. That property's still under my family's name. He stopped mid-sentence, polite but distant. Yes, Ms. Hale. The proposal includes compensation for remaining owners. I'm not selling. A few murmurs stirred the crowd. A man whispered to his neighbor, both smirking. Carrington folded his papers. Your mother's estate has been inactive for years. The town deserves progress. Progress isn't tearing down homes people still care about. Someone coughed. The mayor offered a tired glance. Carrington nodded toward her like closing a file. We'll take your comments under advisement. Her voice vanished into the hum that followed. She sat gripping her knees, listening to the room move on as though she'd never spoken. When the meeting ended, people hurried out. A few nodded out of habit, others avoided her. Rain had started again. On the steps, a woman brushed past and muttered, like mother, like daughter. The words landed sharp. Marianne stayed still until the woman disappeared down the street. Evan Porter was waiting near his truck. Didn't expect to see you here, he said. I didn't plan to talk, but they're trying to take the house. They've tried for years, you just weren't around to see it. I thought someone would listen. They listen, he said, finishing his coffee. They just don't care. You sound like you've learned that the hard way. I stopped expecting fairness, especially from Carrington. He opened his door, paused. Don't let them wear you down. This town feeds on silence. When you speak, it remembers you exist. He drove off, leaving her alone. She walked home. The streets were nearly empty, shop signs faded and awnings sagging. Her shoes grew heavy with water. By the time she reached the porch, her coat clung to her skin. She dropped her keys on the counter and sat without removing her shoes. The envelope from her mother waited in the drawer. She took it out, turned it in her hands, tore one edge, then stopped. Some part of her wasn't ready. She slid it into her coat pocket. Later, she told herself. Her phone buzzed, a credit notice, a final warning. Another from her old landlord, unpaid rent. She stared at both messages until the words blurred, then exhaled. The list of things she couldn't fix kept growing. The clock ticked unevenly. She unplugged it and welcomed the stillness that followed. Boiling water, she watched the steam rise. A memory surfaced, her mother, standing at the same stove, humming softly, stirring sugar into her cup. That sound had always carried something unspoken. When she sat again, the house seemed to lean closer. She spoke, not sure if to herself or to the walls. "What did they make you do, Mom?" The kettle cooled, clicking faintly. A car slowed outside, headlights sliding across the wall. It stopped at the corner, engine idling before rolling away. Marianne waited, heart thudding, then told herself it was nothing. She gathered the papers scattered on the table, receipts, letters, property notices, and stacked them neatly, trying to bring order to something larger than clutter. Droplets clung to the glass, glinting in the streetlight. She rubbed her eyes. When the phone rang again, she lifted it to her ear without looking at the screen. No voice answered, only slow, deliberate breathing. The line went dead. Marianne stayed seated, listening for movement that didn't come. The kettle clicked once more. She turned off the lamp and walked to the door, locking it. The envelope in her pocket rustled as she moved. She pressed her palm against it, steadying herself. "Tomorrow," she murmured. "I'll open it tomorrow." Gulls cried as Marianne stirred awake. The floorboards creaked beneath her steps. Her back ached from another night on the couch, but she still avoided the bedroom upstairs. It held too much of her mother, the faint trace of lotion that refused to fade. She washed her face at the sink and caught her reflection in the glass. Tired eyes, hair knotted back, a belly growing heavier each week. Her palm pressed against it. "We'll figure this out," she murmured. The words felt less like comfort and more like a promise she couldn't postpone. By mid-morning, she'd scrawled a list on the back of a grocery receipt: food, cleaning supplies, a flashlight. She walked into town, coat pulled close against the wind. Mendocino carried that kind of hush born from habit, people keeping to their own corners. The market sat between the thrift shop and laundromat. Marianne grabbed canned soup, bread, and apples. The cashier, a woman with gray hair and bright lipstick, greeted her briefly. "Haven't seen you around." "I used to live here," Marianne said. "Nora Hale was my mother." The woman's hand paused mid-scan. "Oh," she murmured. "She was around." Something in the tone made Marianne's chest tighten. She paid and left without another word. Across the street, Evan Porter stood by his truck. When he noticed her, he waved and crossed over. "You settling in, trying to?" She lifted her bag. "Just getting supplies." "Smart. Power lines here don't forgive laziness." He hesitated, glancing at her. "If you need help with that upstairs window, I've got the tools. I'll manage." He nodded, then lowered his voice. "People talk. Don't take it personally. They remember what suits them." Marianne met his gaze. "And what do you remember?" He gave a thin half smile. "That I was here when it started falling apart." The phrase lingered long after he left. Started falling apart. What did that mean? Her walk home stretched. Near the gate, a black pickup idled down the road, engine humming too long before drifting away. She unpacked the groceries, folded the paper bag into a drawer, then noticed the letter sticking from her coat pocket, edges damp. Sitting at the table, she tore it open. Her mother's handwriting filled the page. "If you find this, it means I didn't get to tell you myself. Not everything that looks like kindness is good. Don't let them bury the truth again. I love you." Mom, no date, no explanation, just a warning, bare and final. Her chest tightened. She folded the note back, but her mind kept circling the same few words: bury the truth again. That evening, Evan knocked. "Saw your light," he said. "Thought you might want company." "I found a letter." She held it out slightly. His expression shifted. "What did it say enough to make me wish I hadn't read it?" He leaned against the counter. Your mom was brave, but she got tangled in things that weren't hers to fix. What kind of things? He shook his head. Ask at the clinic, the Carrington Clinic. That's the one. He reached for his cap. Be careful. Not everyone wants the past dug up. When he left, the house felt heavier. Marianne stood for a while, the note trembling between her fingers. The kettle whistled. She poured hot water into a mug and watched the steam drift, the words echoing again and again. Don't let them bury the truth. Marianne spent the next day at the library across from the post office, small, worn, and steady. She signed the log. Her hand trembled. At the back, the local archives waited in neat rows. Dust rose as she slid open a drawer. Her fingers stopped at a headline, Local Clinic Temporarily Closed After Patient Death. The date 12 years ago. Her mother's name appeared once listed as a staff witness. Cause of death: complications from a new treatment. Nothing more. She searched months of issues. No updates. It was as if the story had been erased. A voice startled her. Looking for something, a woman stood nearby, mid-50s, name tag reading Carol. Her tone was kind but watchful. I'm researching my mother, Marianne said. Nora Hale. She worked at the Carrington Clinic. Carol's eyes shifted. It's best not to dig too deep, she murmured. Some things were never meant to be revisited. Why not? Because the people who write the story aren't always the ones who finish it. Before Marianne could press further, someone approached the counter. Carol turned away, whispering, I'm sorry, dear. Marianne folded the clippings into her bag and left. The wind had grown colder, carrying a sting that caught in her throat. She passed the coffee shop, the grocery store, the boarded-up flower shop, each place echoing her mother's absence. A black pickup idled near her street again. Same slow rumble. It didn't move. She tightened her grip on the bag and kept walking. At the gate, the truck rolled off, deliberate and slow. She set her things on the table and emptied the bag. Newspaper clippings spilled across the surface. Names, dates, addresses, all threads leading somewhere she couldn't yet see. Her eyes caught the family photo on the wall. Her mother stood before the clinic, smiling, one arm around the nurses. Dr. Carrington stood beside her, younger, then his hand resting lightly on her shoulder. The sight made Marianne's skin crawl. She pulled the frame down. Taped behind it was a folded sheet in old medical form, stamped confidential. She opened it carefully. Patient Lyle Carrington, Jr. Date, same as the article. Signature Nora Hale. Gravel crunched, her body tensed. She waited, pulse quickening, until the faint sound of footsteps faded down the driveway. She stuffed the papers into a drawer, grabbed her coat, and slipped out the back alley toward the cafe by the harbor. Evan sat near the counter, coffee half finished. He looked up. You look shaken. I found something. She slid into the seat. A medical record. Carrington's son. My mother's signature. He frowned. You're certain I'm holding it? And someone's been watching me. Evan leaned back. You think Carrington's involved? Her voice came rough. I know he is. He rubbed his jaw. Don't confront him yet. Men like that twist truth into madness. Let me handle it. You're not on the force anymore. I still know how to ask questions. She hesitated. That truck near my house. Then it's a warning, he said, which means you're close. Marianne stared at him, catching the pale scar along his wrist. She wanted to ask, but didn't. When she left, the sky hung low, and gray ocean and clouds blurring into one. The wind pushed hard against her coat. At the gate, she froze. Something felt off, disturbed. She reached for the handle anyway. The kitchen lights were dark. Papers she'd left on the table were gone. The drawer hung open. She stood still, heartbeat drumming. Water dripped from the sink. The house seemed to breathe differently, its stillness, no longer calm but alert. Her hand moved to her belly. The pulse under her skin felt too fast. She checked the door, still locked. No signs of force. Someone had been here, and whoever it was hadn't needed a key. Evan knocked twice on the doorframe before stepping in. Marianne sat at the table, her tea untouched, eyes fixed on the open drawer. He carried a small brown bag. Brought you something, he said. Fresh bread from town? She motioned toward the counter. Thanks. You didn't have to. I know. He studied her face. Rough night, someone broke in. The medical files are gone. Evans swore under his breath, running a hand through his hair. That means you hit a nerve. Carrington doesn't like loose ends. You sound like you know him. I do. Worked under him years ago. He had pull everywhere. People disappeared quietly when it suited him. Marianne's jaw tightened. My mother tried to expose something, didn't she? He hesitated. She came to me once, told me there were patients treated off the record. I started digging, but the department shut me down. 2 weeks later, she quit. Then she stopped talking about it altogether. Her hands balled into fists. You knew and did nothing. I didn't realize how deep it went, he said. By the time I did, she was gone. The clock ticked behind them. Anger burned through the stillness. You can still stop him, Evan said finally, but not if you face him alone. Before she could answer, her phone rang. Unknown number. Ms. Hale, a smooth voice asked, Dr. Carrington here. I hear you've been asking questions. That's unfortunate. Marianne froze. Evan gestured for speaker mode. She obeyed. Carrington's tone was calm, almost kind. I'd like to clear this up. Come by the clinic this afternoon. Best to keep matters private. You can say it now, she said. I prefer face-to-face. We both want closure, don't we? Evan reached for the phone, but she ended the call. I'm going. You're not, he snapped. If I don't, he'll think I'm hiding. You should be scared. I am, she said. And I'm still going. He sighed. Then I'm coming too. By afternoon, clouds pressed low over the coast. She walked toward the clinic, coat pulled tight, heart pounding. The reception smelled of disinfectant and lemon. Carrington appeared from his office, his smile rehearsed. Ms. Hale, he greeted. You look so much like your mother. Same defiance. You wanted to talk, she said flatly. Yes, I'm concerned about these accusations. You believe your mother's death was unnatural. She died after working for you. That's reason enough. He chuckled softly. Grief rewrites the past. Nora was loyal, but she made errors. I protected her. Protected her from what? From herself. She got emotional, careless. You've inherited that. Let me give you some advice. Focus on your child, not the dead. You used her, she said. And now you're trying to scare me. He stepped closer, voice tightening. Be careful what you suggest. Words carry weight. I'm offering you a chance to leave, sell the house, take the money. Forget this. People forgive when you cooperate. Her voice steadied. And if I don't, he smiled faintly, then I'd hate to see your name in the paper beside hers. She left without looking back, trembling not from fear but fury. The wind clawed at her coat as she walked. Evan's truck waited down the block. He jumped out when he saw her. You shouldn't have gone alone. I had to hear him. What did he say? That I should leave? That I'm like my mother? Evan muttered. He's rattled. Means you're close. He's not rattled, she said. He's planning. Maybe both. They drove home in silence. At the driveway, he parked and turned to her. We'll need proof. I'll find it, she said. He's hiding something. My mother knew. You sure you want to do this? I don't have a choice. He glanced at her belly, then back at her face. Then we do it smart. She stepped out, gravel crunching beneath her shoes. Tomorrow, she murmured, we start digging. Marianne woke before dawn, the house cold. She wrapped herself in a sweater, went to the kitchen, and found the kettle still sitting on the stove. Evan had promised they'd start digging, but she didn't know where to begin. The thought of the clinic made her stomach turn. She poured a glass of water and studied the list she'd written. Names, dates, half-formed questions. Her mother's warning, don't let them bury the truth, throbbed in her mind like a pulse that refused to fade. Evan entered without knocking. Morning, he said, his eyes lined with fatigue. I made some calls last night. Who? An old contact from my time on the force. There's an incident report tied to Carrington's clinic sealed by the county. Sealed. That's what I'm checking on. He placed a folder on the table. But I did get a name, Helen Keene. Worked with your mom. Left town when the investigation vanished. She's alive, living near Fort Bragg. We should visit her. Marianne's fingers traced the table grain. You think she'll talk? She might if she knows someone finally cares. They packed the car and drove north. The cliffs hid the ocean, the road bending in long, uneasy curves. Neither spoke. After a while, Evan said, Your mom once told me, quiet towns are dangerous. Folks here smile while they hate you. Marianne almost smiled. That sounds exactly like her. The cottage sat at the end of a dirt road half covered in ivy. A tired dog barked once and settled again. Evan waited as Marianne knocked. A woman opened the door, thin gray-haired eyes sharp with memory. "You must be Nora's girl." "Yes. I wanted to ask about the clinic." Helen glanced at Evan, then stepped aside. "Come in, just for a bit." The place smelled faintly of disinfectant and tea leaves. Helen poured two mismatched cups and sat across from them. "I knew this would circle back," she said. "Your mother tried to stop what was happening. It cost her." Marianne leaned forward. What was happening? Helen's hands shook. Carrington was running trials. Unapproved serum meant to reverse organ damage. No clearance, no oversight. When one patient died, your mother went to the board. 2 days later, the files vanished. They called it an accident. Who else knew, Evan asked. Most of us. Some took hush money, others kept silent. Nora refused, said she had proof. Proof A recording. Carrington's voice. She said no one could twist that. Marianne's pulse kicked, so he silenced her. Helen lowered her gaze. "I don't know how it ended. When she died, I didn't ask questions. That was my mistake." Evan flipped open his notebook. "Did she keep a storage box?" "She rented one at the post office. If the recording survived, it's there." They thanked her and left. The drive back felt heavier. Marianne stared out the window, thoughts racing faster than the road. "You believe her?" she asked. "I believe enough to check," Evan said. "If that recording exists, Carrington's finished." At the Mendocino post office, the clerk scanned the records. "Box 142 cleared years ago." "By who?" Evan asked. "Power of attorney," the clerk said, pulling the form. "Lyle Carrington." Marianne's breath caught. He took it himself, no. Sent a woman. Claimed to be family. They stepped into the wind gravel, crunching underfoot. Evan muttered, "He's cleaning up after himself." Marianne stared down the street, the thought of her mother sealing that tape tightening her chest. "He's not finished. Then neither are we." She nodded slowly. If he sent someone pretending to be family, maybe she's still nearby. Any guesses? Marianne remembered the woman from the town meeting the one who'd whispered, "Like mother, like daughter, I might." They drove home in silence. The sky dimmed the road, turning inland. At the porch, a white envelope waited under the door. No name, no address. Just a photo of her mother and Carrington smiling in the clinic hall, his hand over hers. On the back, jagged handwriting, "You're getting close. Stop now." She handed it to Evan. He read it once, jaw tight, and set it back on the counter. The envelope stayed there through the night. Each time she passed, her eyes caught those 4 words. They felt less like a warning, more like a breath on her neck. By sunrise, she tried to distract herself. Boiled water, sliced bread swept the hall, but nothing eased the weight pressing in. Evan arrived just before noon. "You didn't sleep," he said. "I couldn't." He studied the photo. Same handwriting as your mom's letter. No sharper, heavier. Then Carrington's not alone. She poured coffee, her hand trembling slightly. "What do? We wait," he said. "Sometimes waiting tells you more than chasing." She gave a small laugh. "That sounds like my mother." Then she was wise. The day stretched on. Evan helped mend the broken fence while Marianne trimmed the vines by the gate. For a while, the rhythm of work steadied them, 2 people sharing space without needing to fill it. When he finished, he wiped his brow. "Not perfect, but better." "Better's enough," she said, brushing off her palms. They sat on the steps, the scent of wood drifting around them. Evan broke a twig, rolling it between his fingers. "You ever think about leaving all the time?" she murmured. "But every time I picture it, I see her face. I can't leave until I know." He nodded. The stillness between them was easy, but it hummed with things unsaid. She gestured toward his wrist. "That scar was it from the job." He glanced down. "Sort of. I pushed a case I wasn't supposed to. Tried to dig up evidence my captain wanted buried. A week later, I was off the force." "So you stopped?" He smiled faintly. "No. I just got quieter." She watched him for a moment, realizing the stubbornness they shared. "You didn't stop at all." "Guess not." A breeze stirred the leaves. For once, she didn't feel suffocated by the sound. Later, Evan went to get supplies. Alone, Marianne cleaned the living room. Dust clung to corners she was sure she'd cleared. While wiping the bookshelf, her rag caught on something wedged behind old novels. A cassette tape labeled June 11th. Her heart lurched. The handwriting, her mother's. She searched drawers until she found a small player. It still worked. The tape clicked in place. Static. Then a woman's voice, faint but unmistakable. If you're hearing this, it means they found out. Her mother. You can't trust anyone tied to the clinic. Not Carrington, not the board, not the sheriff. Keep this somewhere safe. The proof is in the tape cut off. Marianne replayed it. Same point, same end. The rest was gone. Evan returned to find her pale and shaking. What's that? She pushed the recorder toward him. Her voice. He listened, brow furrowed. We'll get it restored. I know someone in Fort Bragg who can recover tapes. She said they found out. What if they already knew about this? Then they'll expect fear, he said, pulling on his jacket. We don't give them that. I'm not ready to face him again. You don't have to. Let me handle it. She caught his sleeve. If something happens, he stopped her. Then it happens to both of us. He left. The crunch of gravel faded down the road. Marianne stood in the doorway, the tape clutched against her chest. A strange calm replaced her fear. Evening thickened. The house smelled faintly of bread. She cooked washed dishes, checked the door locks twice, then sat near the front room waiting. Time stretched. When headlights appeared, relief surged Evan's truck. But he didn't get out. The engine idled. She called his name. No answer. As she approached, her breath caught. Through the windshield, he was slumped forward, hands gripping the wheel, a thin line of red down his temple. She pulled the door open. Evan, he stirred weakly. I'm fine. Got hit from behind. By who? He nodded toward the back seat. A white envelope rested there. Marianne tore it open. The tape isn't yours. Stop now, or next time it won't be a warning. They know, she whispered. Evan's breath came shallow. They're scared. She pressed a towel from the glove box to his head. Stay with me. We'll go to the hospital. No police, he murmured. Not yet. The night smelled of iron. Her hands shook against the wound as his eyes fluttered open and shut. They'll come again, he muttered. I know, she said softly. But so will I. Evan lay on the couch, half conscious, bandaged and pale. Marianne sat beside him with a bowl of water, cleaning the wound each time it bled through. He winced but didn't move. You should have gone to the hospital and tell them what that someone doesn't want us to hear an old tape. His mouth twitched into a half smile. They'd call it an accident. Marianne wrung the cloth, pressing gently. We can't keep doing this blind. Then move carefully. Carrington isn't reckless. If he wanted you dead, you would be. He's testing you. Her hands stilled. He underestimates what I've already lost. By dawn, Evan's fever broke. He insisted on making coffee while she packed the recorder and tape. I'm taking this to Fort Bragg, she said. You need rest. Like hell I do. You can't drive. Then I'll ride. The car rolled slow along the pine-lined road, gravel popping under the tires. Each time headlights appeared behind them, Marianne's grip on the wheel tightened until Evan muttered, breathe. At the repair shop, a wiry man named Harold met them, grease on his hands. Evan handed him the recorder. Need this restored. Might be damaged. Harold eyed it. Crime scene. Something like that. Then you didn't bring it here, he said. You left it and I found it. How long? Marianne asked. If it's stretched a few hours, if it's cut longer. They waited in the diner next door. Evan drank his coffee. Marianne barely touched hers. The hum of chatter drifted around them. He could have killed you, she said. He didn't. That's not comfort. You're asking the wrong question. What's the right one? Why now? He's buried this for years. Someone's forcing his hand. You think someone else is involved? There always is. Evan leaned back. You said a woman pretended to be family to clear your mother's box. That wasn't Carrington. He's too proud for disguises. Then who's someone who knew her? Knew what she hid? Marianne's gaze drifted past the diner glass. Across the street, a woman in a dark coat stood near their car, pretending to check her phone. Evan, she whispered. He followed her line of sight. The woman glanced once their way, then walked off behind the post office. She's not local, he said. Let's get the tape. Back at the shop, Harold held out a small flash drive. Audio's rough, but the last minute plays clear. Whoever recorded it was scared. Marianne took it. Thank you. In the car, she plugged it in and hit play. Static, then her mother's voice, faint but steady. If this reaches anyone, I have proof Dr. Carrington falsified the serum trials. A patient, Lyle Carrington Jr., was injected without consent. He died within hours. I kept the records. If I disappear, he's responsible. Marianne's breath hitched. Then a man's voice broke through, low and close. You shouldn't be here, Nora. Her mother gasped and the tape cut. Evan reached to stop it. That's enough. She shook her head. Again. The words repeated, softer but heavier each time. That voice she whispered. It wasn't Carrington's. Then who, I don't know, but he sounded like he cared. They exchanged a look, something shifting between fear and realization. The man confronting her mother might not have been her killer. Evan rubbed his temples. We need to match that voice. Marianne stared ahead. If she knew him, there's a record somewhere. Letters, maybe. Then we go home. The drive back dragged. The closer they came to Mendocino, the heavier everything felt. When they turned onto her street, the front door hung slightly open. Marianne braked hard. Stay here, not a chance. They entered together. The house had been searched again. Drawers yanked open, cushions tossed. The photo that once sat on the counter was gone. Only the recorder remained. Evan cursed under his breath. They're hunting the copy. Marianne moved through the rooms until she reached the back door. It was unlocked. A folded paper lay on the step, held by a small rock. She unfolded it. 4 words scrawled unevenly. He's not your enemy. Her knees weakened. Evan caught her arm, reading it twice. Who's he? I don't know anymore. He pocketed the note. Then we find out. But tonight you rest. She shook her head. Rest won't change what's coming. He didn't reply. Checked the locks one by one while she stood by the table staring at the recorder. The next dawn felt heavy. Evan brewed coffee while Marianne sat at the table reading the note again. He's not your enemy. The words refused to settle. She folded it into her pocket. Someone's trying to twist things or warn you, Evan said, pouring 2 cups. We just don't know which. If Carrington isn't alone, then who's pulling the strings? Maybe not pulling, pushing, he said. Maybe he's being used. That thought made her stomach tighten. She stared at the recorder. The other man on the tape, he knew her. He didn't sound angry. He sounded guilty, Evan said, like someone stuck between orders and regret. Maybe he tried to stop her. Maybe he didn't mean for her to die. Intent doesn't erase blood, he said. Neither spoke for a while. Then he slid a thin folder across the table. While you slept, I ran background checks. Carrington's son, Lyle Jr., died at 17, same year as the experiment your mom mentioned. Carrington remarried later. His wife's name, Claire Hensley, the woman from the town meeting. Marianne's pulse jumped. She's the one who cleared my mother's box. Could be. She'd have the access and the reason. If she's involved, she still has what we're missing. Let's not walk in asking questions, he warned. Then we look instead. He sighed but didn't stop her. They waited until the town settled down, then parked 2 streets from Carrington's hill house. The gate hung half open. They walked the rest sticking to the trees. The garden path led to a side door. A window was unlatched. Marianne hesitated. Evan nodded once. The house smelled faintly of lavender and dust. Family photos lined the wall. Carrington, Claire, and a teenage boy with light hair. That's him, she whispered. Lyle Jr. Evan scanned the shelves. We need something linking her to your mom. Marianne rifled through a desk drawer. Between receipts and letters, an envelope bore her mother's handwriting. Evan unfolded it carefully. Inside, a short note and a photo of 2 nurses, Nora and Claire, smiling beside a hospital bed. Marianne touched the edge of the picture. They worked together. Evan read aloud, Claire. I trusted you when no one else would. Don't let him destroy what's left of me. She wasn't warning her, Marianne murmured. She was begging. A sound broke through a door closing down the hall. They froze. A woman's voice followed, calm and steady. You shouldn't be here. Claire stood in the doorway, a phone dangling loosely from her hand. Her expression wasn't anger, it was resignation. I'm not stealing, Marianne said. I just need the truth. Claire's eyes softened. You have your mother's eyes. You knew her. I did, and I knew she wouldn't survive what she was fighting. Evan stepped forward. Then why protect him? Claire's jaw tightened. You think he killed her? He didn't. Marianne's heart stuttered. Then who did Claire place the phone on the desk? You wouldn't believe me unless I showed you. She opened a drawer, pulled out a thin folder. Your mother gave me this before she disappeared. I hid it. Evan flipped through the pages, medical reports, signatures, confidential stamps. A name at the bottom, Dr. Raymond Keene. Marianne frowned. Helen's husband, Claire, nodded. He created the serum. Carrington took the blame to protect the clinic. Your mother confronted Keene after the boy died. He panicked. You're saying Keene killed her? Evan asked. I'm saying he made sure she was never found, Claire said. Carrington covered it up to save the board. The room seemed to shrink around them. Marianne barely breathed. Why tell me now? Because he's back, Claire whispered. He's been asking about you. He thinks you found the tape. He wants it gone. Evan straightened. Where is he running a lab behind the old hospital? No one goes there. Marianne's anger sharpened. You let him vanish for years. Claire's eyes glistened. I let fear decide. Don't repeat that. A low hum rose outside the sound of an engine idling close. Evan moved fast, pulling Marianne toward the back. Headlights swept the yard. Claire's face went pale. He found you, she said. Evan guided Marianne through the side door. Gravel scattered under their feet as they ran toward the car. Another engine roared behind them. Get in, he said. She slammed the door as he started the ignition. Tires spun, caught the road. A black sedan shot out from the driveway, closing distance. He note in her pocket pulsed against her leg. He's not your enemy. She no longer knew who the warning was meant for or whom it was protecting. The car tore down the narrow road, the black sedan closing fast. Evan's injured arm held steady on the wheel. Marianne watched the mirror, every flash of headlights quickening her pulse. Keep low, he said. We'll lose them by the ridge. Who's driving, my guess, Keene? The name landed heavy, a man she'd never met yet capable of erasing whole lives. The road twisted into the woods. Evan cut the headlights and veered down a maintenance path. Gravel cracked under the tires until they stopped among the trees. He killed the engine and motioned for silence. They waited. The sedan passed on the main road, engine fading. Evan exhaled. Gone for now. Marianne rubbed her arms. You think he saw Claire, maybe? She'll have to vanish now, too. She should have told me sooner. She should have, he said. Fear makes people foolish. Her phone buzzed. No number. You want the truth? Come to the old hospital. Come alone. Evan read it. That's him. If I don't go, he'll find another way, she said. And if you do, then it ends. He's baiting you, Evan warned. I can't keep hiding. He studied her face. Then I'm coming, he said alone. I don't care. She met his eyes. If something happens, you can't stop it, but you can make it matter. He hesitated, then pulled a small recorder from his coat. Wear this. Hidden mic. I'll stay close enough to hear. She tucked it into her jacket. If I'm not back in an hour, go to the sheriff. Even if they're dirty. Yes. Public is safer than quiet. He nodded. Then we do it. The old hospital stood half a mile past town. Brick walls swallowed by ivy sign, rusted beyond reading. She parked by a side door, flashlight in hand. Evan waited down the hill watching. The corridor smelled of mildew. Her steps echoed softly as she followed a faint glow from an open door. A man stood near the far wall, tall gray hair, neatly tied. You came, he said. Dr. Keene, you have your mother's tone steady but unsure. What do you want to explain before you decide what to do? Explain that you killed her. She wasn't meant to die, he said evenly. She confronted Carrington here. He struck her. She fell. By the time I arrived, she was gone. Marianne's breath caught. You buried it. I hid it for her, he said. She'd lost perspective. The clinic's work wasn't what she thought. Carrington's son volunteered. The serum didn't kill him. He took his own life. You're lying. The proof's gone. You destroyed it when you played the tape. It wasn't just her confession, it was her warning. I still have part of it. He smiled faintly. And that's enough to ruin you. The press will twist it. Your mother will become the woman who doctored results and killed a boy. You'll inherit her guilt. She stepped back. You're afraid of truth. I'm afraid of what you'll do with it. A soft crackle sounded from her jacket. His eyes sharpened. You're recording me. He lunged, grabbing her wrist. The flashlight rolled away. She struck his leg with her knee. He hissed but didn't let go. Outside, gravel shifted. Evan's footsteps. Marianne twisted free, slammed the recorder against Keen's shoulder, and bolted. Evan reached her at the entrance. Go! They ran for the car. Footsteps followed, then stopped. When the engine roared, Marianne pressed a hand to her chest. He said it wasn't murder that she... Her voice broke. He's spinning it, Evan said. That's what men like him do. We've got enough. She wiped her eyes. Enough for what? To make him panic. The car rattled down the old road. Her torn coat fluttered against the frame. The recorder in her lap felt heavier than proof. It felt like a reckoning. Drive to Claire's, she said. She's gone. Then we find out where. Evan drove until they reached the edge of town. The car stopped near a rest area overlooking the coast. Marianne stepped out, the wind cutting through her hair. Below, the sea churned restless, alive. Evan leaned against the hood. You still have the recorder? She tapped her pocket. Here. Good. We'll copy it once we're safe. She stared at the horizon. He said she wasn't murdered, that she fell. But he was there. He could have helped. Could have, Evan muttered, but didn't. He sounded sure, like it wasn't a lie. That's how liars sound. What if he told the truth? What if Carrington hit her and Keen just hid it? Then we prove it, he said. Either way, someone's guilty. The wind rose. Marianne let it, too tired to fight. Claire might know more. If she's still breathing, Evan replied. Keen cleans up after himself. Then so do I. They drove through the dim streets, porch lights flickering one by one. Marianne caught herself watching every window, expecting a shadow to move. Fear had become habit. At her house, the porch light burned. She hadn't left it on. Evan cut the engine. You want me to check first? No. If he's here, he wants me to find him. The house felt stale, holding its breath. Nothing broken, but wrong. A faint trace of smoke led them to the kitchen sink, one crushed cigarette. Evan's jaw tightened. He's been here. And left this, she said. On the table, a small envelope with her name. Inside, stop digging, Marianne. You'll lose more than your mother did. She passed it to him. He knows where I live. He wants control. It's working. Evan dragged a chair closer. We leave tonight. Grab essentials. Upstairs, she filled a small bag. Papers, the tape, a few clothes. Her mother's necklace caught her eye. She clasped it without thinking. Downstairs, Evan checked the doors again. Motel by the pier, he said. Low traffic. The phone rang. Both froze. Evan shook his head, but she lifted the receiver. Hello. A pause, then a calm, measured voice. You don't understand what you're part of. Her chest tightened. Keen. Your mother made a mistake. Don't repeat it. She was trying to save lives. She was trying to save her version of truth, he said. You think she was innocent? She tried to stop you. She tried to protect my son, Keen said. He volunteered. When he died, she turned his choice into her crusade. She ruined everything he believed in. Marianne's breath faltered. She blamed me, Keen continued. Carrington hit her, yes. I buried her. That was mercy. You've undone it. Evan grabbed the phone, but the line went dead. They stood there listening to the empty tone. Marianne sank into a chair. He said she twisted the story, that he was protecting his son. He's manipulating you, Evan said. I don't know what's real anymore. Evan knelt beside her. Truth doesn't shift just because he rewrites it. She pressed her hand to her stomach. The baby moved steady, grounding. Then we finish this. Tomorrow we take it all to the sheriff, Evan said. If the department's bent, we leak it. One way or another, it gets out. And if they stop us first, then we'll know we didn't stay silent. She rose, gathering her bag. Wind pressed against the house, shaking the frame. They stepped into the night, locking the door behind them. At the car, Evan hesitated. You're sure about this? I've been sure since her letter. They drove toward the pier. The motel lights glowed dull yellow against the dark. Evan parked near the last unit. The room smelled faintly of salt and detergent. Marianne placed the recorder on the nightstand and sat at the bed's edge. Evan checked the street once more. Try to rest, he said. I can't. Then what? I want to hear it again. The recorder clicked. Her mother's voice filled the room. If you find this, tell the truth, even if it breaks you. The sound ended, leaving only the hum of waves. Marianne sat still, one hand over her stomach. Traffic murmured faintly. Evan sat by the chair, a cup cooling beside him. Marianne's stirred eyes heavy. You didn't sleep, she murmured. Couldn't. A car was parked across the street earlier. Left about an hour ago. You think it was him? I doubt anyone else is watching. She pushed herself upright, fatigue settling deep. We take the tape to the sheriff. If Keen's right about the department being compromised, that's a trap. Then we walk in careful. At the sink, she splashed water on her face. The reflection staring back looked older, but steadier. Not just the daughter of the dead someone carrying the fight forward. They left before 8. The town felt stretched, thin sound carrying too far. At the sheriff's office, a deputy greeted them with a polite, flat smile. Evan stepped ahead. We need Sheriff Tate. It's about Carrington's clinic case 12 years ago. The deputy's smile dimmed. That case was closed. Not anymore, Marianne said, setting the recorder on the counter. He hesitated, then picked up the phone. Wait here. Minutes crawled by, marked only by a ticking clock. The back door opened. Sheriff Tate stepped out, tall, thinning hair calm, worn smooth by years of denial. Miss Hale, he said, I heard you were back. Caused quite a stir. I'm here because my mother was murdered, she said evenly, and I have proof. He motioned toward his office. Let's talk. Evan followed without speaking. Once the door closed, Tate leaned against his desk. You should have come to me sooner. You're digging where you don't belong. My mother tried to stop an illegal experiment, Marianne said. You helped bury it. I've seen this before, grief-hunting monsters that aren't there. Her death was ruled accidental. She left a recording, Marianne said, setting the tape down. Names, dates. He eyed it. If it's fake, that's a felony. It isn't. He looked at Evan. And you, I helped her stay alive long enough to bring it here. Tate studied them, then said, Fine. I'll listen. You wait here. Evan's hand brushed her shoulder. Let him. They stepped into the hall. The muffled sound of Nora's voice reached them, words Marianne knew too well. When it stopped, Tate called them back. He sat now, elbows on the desk. This is serious, he said, but not enough. No visuals, no witness corroboration. You can subpoena clinic records, Marianne said. Claire Hensley has copies. Tate's expression hardened. Had. She died last night. Car accident on Route 9. Marianne froze. No, that's not. I'm sorry, he cut in. Car went off the embankment. Looked like she lost control. Evan muttered. Or someone helped her lose it. Tate didn't deny it. If I were you, I'd leave town. People want this buried. You mean Keen? I mean everyone involved. They stepped out. Marianne gripped the railing, trying to steady her breath. It's happening again, she said. Evan nodded. Then we don't let it. They drove in silence. The highway stretched empty. Marianne watched the signs blur by, thoughts circling back to her mother. When they turned toward Nora's old house, Evan asked, You sure she left clues here? Maybe another tape. The front gate hung open. They entered cautiously. The kitchen table was bare. Keen's note was gone. Upstairs, a dresser drawer sat crooked. Marianne pulled it open. Beneath folded clothes lay a small metal box. Her hands shook as she lifted it. The latch stuck. Evan handed her a pocket knife. It popped open with a scrape. A single cassette and a folded photograph lay within. The photo showed Nora with Keen and a young man she didn't recognize. On the back, faded ink read June 11th. Marianne stared. This isn't just about the clinic. Evan looked at the tape. We'll play it at the motel. Not here. They reached the motel near dusk. Evan carried the box, Marianne the key. Words felt small now, everything did. He set it on the table. Ready? She nodded. The cassette looked plain, but something within it waited to speak. Evan slid it into the recorder and pressed play. Static filled the room, then her mother's voice, steady, measured. This is Nora Hale. If this recording survives me, it means I failed to stop them. The truth must be known. Marianne leaned forward, pulse racing. The clinic wasn't research. Nora continued. It was a front. The serum wasn't for healing, it erased memory. Trauma, guilt, obedience, conditioning. They planned to sell it to the military. Carrington was the face. The money came from higher up. The voice trembled. Raymond Keen found it worked best on women. The side effects: hallucination, disassociation, loss of self. When I threatened to expose them, he begged me to stay silent. He said his son's death wasn't an accident, it proved the serum worked. The tape crackled. Shuffling, a door creaked. Then a man's voice. "You can't keep this, Nora." Her mother again firm. "You can't bury minds to make soldiers out of them." A scuffle, something fell, a sharp gasp, then silence. Evan turned it off. The air thickened. Marianne pressed her palms to her face. They weren't curing, they were rewriting people. Evan nodded. "This goes beyond them." She stumbled onto something national. "Then we release it," she said. "News forums everywhere." "We'll make copies first," he said, pulling his laptop closer. The progress bar crawled. Marianne paced, glancing toward the road. "What if he finds us? Then we're ready." When the transfer finished, he burned 2 discs and handed one to her. "Keep this on you. If anything happens, send it out." Her grip whitened around the edge. She must have been terrified, but she recorded it anyway. She knew fear isn't enough to stop truth. A knock startled them. Evan opened the door a crack. The motel manager stood there holding an envelope. "Someone left this for you," he said, handing it over. After the man left, Marianne unfolded the note. "You're running out of places to hide." Evan exhaled. "He's close." Marianne folded it. "Then we stop hiding." "What are you planning? Go public before he can bury it." "Live stream upload, make it impossible to erase." Evan hesitated. "You'll be exposed." "I already am." He watched her, then nodded. "Tomorrow. Cafe by the pier, public Wi-Fi." Marianne sank onto the bed, exhaustion tugging at her. "Fear should have stopped me by now." "That's how you know it's behind you," he said. She managed a faint smile. "You sound like her." "I'll take that." He checked the locks while she lay back, listening to his fingers tap across the keys as he encrypted the files. Each click felt like a countdown. When he finished, he murmured, "We leave at dawn. Try to rest." She closed her eyes. Sleep stayed just out of reach. Her mother's words replayed, tangled with Keen's. It had never been about medicine. It was about control, memory, erasure. Her hand rested over her belly. The baby shifted, small but insistent. Life pressing forward against everything that wanted to silence it. Evan muttered something in his half-sleep, soft, unguarded. She didn't catch the words, but they sounded like a vow. Evan woke her before dawn. "It's time." They packed fast, leaving only the dented chair. Marianne slipped the flash drive into her pocket, checking for it with each step. They drove toward town. The cafe near the pier buzzed with fishermen students, and an old couple sharing a muffin life, moving on, as if nothing had changed. Evan took a seat by the window, opening his laptop. "Wi-Fi's good enough here. Once I upload it, there's no undoing it. Then let's finish." He started typing. Folders appeared on screen, recordings, transcripts, letters. The hum of machines filled the space between them. Marianne kept watching the door, half expecting Keen. A waitress refilled their cups. "Rough night?" she asked. Marianne managed a small nod. "Feels longer than one." 15 minutes. Evan checked the progress bar. "Uploading now." She looked out at the streetcars, a man walking his dog, waves breaking under the pier. Ordinary life kept breathing. Then Evan muttered, "Connections dropping." "Someone's tracing us. Can they stop it?" "Not if we move." He grabbed the laptop and led her through the back door. They slipped into the alley, damp and narrow. Evan switched networks. He's watching. Keen must have tagged the files. Marianne pulled her phone out. "Then I'll send it too." "Too dangerous." "He already knows me." Her fingers flew across the screen, attaching the file to every outlet she could remember. When the bar turned green, she whispered, "Sent." Evan exhaled. "Now we wait." A car door slammed nearby. Footsteps echoed down the alley. "You've made a mistake," Marianne Keen's voice said, low and measured. Evan stepped forward. "It's over, Raymond. The world's watching now." Keen appeared through the mist, coat buttoned, face calm. "Nothing's over. You think a few files rewrite history? You've built a ghost story. People don't believe ghosts. They'll believe her," Marianne said. "She didn't understand balance," he said. "Some truths do more harm than lies." "You destroyed her," she said. "She did that herself. And you're following?" He raised a hand. "I'm unarmed. I only want the tape." "You can't have it." The faint wail of sirens cut through the fog. Keen's expression broke for a heartbeat. Evan smiled thinly. "Guess someone read faster than you thought." Keen stepped back. You don't know what you've unleashed. Maybe it's time we did, Marianne said. The sirens swelled. By the time the cruisers turned into the alley, he was gone. Evan's shoulders dropped. You all right? She nodded. I thought I'd feel relief. Instead, it's empty. Give it time. They returned to the cafe. Reporters were already calling. Evan told her to ignore them. She sat outside watching sunlight spread across the sea. He joined her, brushing her hand lightly. It steadied her. Another call buzzed. Evan gestured for her to answer. A man's voice. Miss Hale, this is Agent Carter, FBI. We've reviewed your files. You need protection. Marianne met Evan's eyes. What now? That depends, the agent said. You've done the right thing, but it's not over. She hung up. They want to protect me. Evan smiled faintly. Finally. She laughed, shaky but real. They left the cafe, walking toward the pier. Fishermen hauled nets, gulls, circled children through crumbs. Life continued. Evan stopped at the boardwalk's edge. You know this isn't the end. You started something bigger than both of us. I know. And you're not afraid. She watched the waves fold over one another. Fear's a habit. I'm breaking it. He nodded and they turned back toward town. The tide lifted, ropes creaked, traffic murmured awake. The day after the upload had been a blur of agents, reporters, and questions that still clung to her. Now, with only the road between them, stillness felt heavier but merciful. She kept replaying her mother's voice, that calm certainty that sounded like someone who already knew how the story would end. It haunted her more than fear ever had. Evan glanced over. You should rest when we get there. I will, but I need to go through her things again. There's something I missed. He didn't argue. He knew better than to try. The house looked smaller. Dust had settled, thin as frost. She unlocked the door and the faint mix of cedar and paper drifted out. Evan checked the locks while she walked through each room, her hand brushing the walls. In the study, everything sat as before: papers, list, bills. She opened drawers one by one, sorting, discarding. Near the bottom lay a sealed envelope, a note in her mother's tidy hand. If they ever come for you, don't hide. Finish what I couldn't. Her throat tightened. The words weren't advice, they were a hand reaching across years. Evan stepped in. Agent Carter called again. They're offering relocation. She slipped the note into her pocket. I'm done running. If I leave now, she dies twice. He leaned against the doorframe. You've already done more than she did. That's not the point. She didn't just want justice, she wanted to be remembered. He looked around the study, lined with journals and photographs. You think people will remember? They will, she said. Maybe not her name, but what she stopped. They started cleaning without speaking. Evan cleared the porch. Marianne scrubbed counters and gathered broken glass. The rhythm steadied her. By afternoon, the house felt warmer, lived in. She found an old blue blanket from childhood and spread it across the couch. When she sat down, Evan handed her tea. You're smiling, he said. I didn't think I remembered how. Later, she stepped onto the porch. The sea stretched dark and calm. Evan leaned on the railing beside her. She'd have liked this, Marianne said. The stillness. She'd have liked seeing you here more. Maybe she does. He didn't reply. The pause between them said enough. He went back in. Marianne stayed watching gulls fade into dusk. Her hands rested on her stomach. The baby shifted gently under her palms. We made it, she whispered, not triumph, just fact. The phone buzzed. She ignored it. Tomorrow could wait. She poured the last of the tea, stood at the sink, and listened to the steady ticking of the clock, like the house had found its own heartbeat again. Evan appeared with a stack of letters. All addressed to you. She never sent them. Marianne opened the first. The handwriting was looser, softer. I'm sorry for what I couldn't explain. I wasn't running from truth. I was saving it for you. Her eyes burned, but she stayed calm. She knew this day would come. Evan placed the rest beside her. Read them later. I will. He turned off the lights on his way out. The faint glow from the street traced soft lines across the floor. She placed the letters beside her cup. Tomorrow she'd read one at a time. Now she sat with a hand over her belly, feeling life pressed back against her palm. The house no longer felt haunted. It felt claimed, like a story finally belonging to her. Knocking pulled her from a shallow sleep. Evan was already at the door. 2 federal agents stood there, one of them, Agent Carter. His tone carried no warmth or threat, only routine. "Miss Hale," he said, "we'll need you to come with us. There are new developments in the case." Marianne nodded. "Give me a few minutes." She changed into a sweater and jeans, tied her hair back, and followed them out. Evan came too. Carter didn't object. The drive wound along the cliffs, the sea stretching gray beside them. Carter spoke little. The younger agent, Diaz, scrolled through her tablet, occasionally glancing up as if memorizing Marianne's face. They arrived at a squat concrete building near town, a temporary field office, Carter explained. The place smelled of ink and tired coffee. He led them into a narrow room with a table, 2 chairs, a recorder. "Sit down," he said. "Before we begin, you should know Keen's been detained." Marianne froze. "When?" "Last night. He tried to cross the border near Crescent City." Evan leaned forward. "Is he talking some? Enough to confirm your mother's recordings. The serum existed, funded through private channels." "Bigger than we thought." Marianne frowned. "There's still someone else behind it." Carter nodded. "A contractor in D.C. ran the funding through shell companies." "We're building a federal case. It'll take time." "So Keen wasn't in charge," Evan said. "No, just a messenger who enjoyed the power that came with secrets." Carter turned to her. "What you did changed everything. It forced the Bureau's hand. Now the public's watching." Marianne's chest tightened. Being watched again, even by allies, felt suffocating. Diaz slid a form across the table. "Sign here to confirm ownership of the materials." Marianne signed without pause. Carter continued. "You'll be offered protection or relocation when this is over. You don't need to decide now." She asked, "And the people in those trials? We're trying to find them. Some don't remember what was done. Others vanished before your mother's investigation began." Her grip on the pen loosened. "Then it's not over." "Not yet," Carter said. Evan rested a hand on her shoulder. "But it's a start." The questioning went on for hours, dates, names, scraps of memory. By late afternoon, Carter dismissed them. They stopped at a small diner on the way home. The place smelled of frying oil and toast. Marianne ordered soup. Evan ordered the same. The waitress, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, recognized her. "You're the one from the news, the doctor case." Marianne hesitated. "Something like that." "Good for you," the woman said. "People like that think they can play God." When she left, Evan said, "You're famous now." "I don't want to be, I know. But you gave people something besides fear to talk about." Marianne stirred her soup. "I thought truth would make things clear. It doesn't. It just makes the silence louder." "That's what comes after noise," he said. They finished eating. He paid the bill and left a tip. The ride back was slow. The damp chill before a storm lingered in the air. At the house, the porch light flickered weakly. Evan promised to fix it. Her phone buzzed. "Agent Carter again," Keen confessed. "Your mother's case will be reopened under federal review." She read it twice. "It's official." Evan exhaled. "Then that's justice." "Maybe, or maybe just paperwork." He didn't argue. "Still, you did what she couldn't." Marianne leaned against the counter, exhaustion settling deep. "I thought I'd feel relief," she said. "Instead, it feels like something's ending." "That's how endings are," he replied. They sat together on the couch. Evan poured tea, turned on a small lamp. "You should rest." "Not yet." She unfolded another of her mother's letters. The paper was soft from age. "If you're reading this, it means truth survived longer than fear." Marianne smiled faintly and folded it again. She didn't cry. Evan's voice was gentle. "What now? I keep the house. Feed myself. Take care of the baby. Live." He nodded. "Good plan." Wind brushed the walls like an old friend. Marianne stood by the glass, watching the sea move in patient rhythm. She turned back to the kettle, refilling it for another cup. The hiss of water meeting metal sounded small but sure. Evan opened a book and asked if she needed anything. "No," she said. "This is enough." Marianne woke to damp light and the faint warmth drifting up from downstairs. Evan had been awake for hours. She could tell by the soft clatter of dishes, the way he moved through rooms without hurry. She pulled on her loose cardigan and crossed the hall. The baby slept in his bassinet, wrapped in a faded blanket. She brushed a fingertip across his palm, and he curled around it. "You're up," Evan said from the doorway. "Barely." "You made coffee strong enough to wake the dead." "Perfect." He poured her a cup. They sat at the table while the radio murmured about congressional hearings, names, testimonies, investigations. Her mother's name surfaced, spoken plainly before the voice moved on. They're reopening the grant programs, Evan said. The Bureau wants oversight this time. She'd have liked that. Yeah, she would. The words settled between them, not heavy, just true. After breakfast, they took the baby outside. The garden was wild again, weeds curling through stone. Marianne knelt by the flower bed, tugging at roots. She used to grow herbs here, she said. Basil, thyme, rosemary for soups. She never had time to cook. Evan crouched beside her. We could plant something new. I was thinking that too. They worked side by side through the late morning. Every weed pulled felt like an act of reclaiming. By noon, the garden looked more alive than it had in years. It's getting there, Evan said. It's enough for today. Back inside, she fed the baby while he fixed lunch. The radio kept going, more hearings, more resignations. Not triumph, but balance. When the baby slept again, she opened one of her mother's old notebooks. Between pages of formulas were stray lines written in cramped ink. Science isn't meant to erase pain. It's meant to teach us what it costs. She never wrote this for anyone else, Marianne said. Evan looked up. What do you mean she wasn't explaining? She was reminding herself. He smiled faintly. Sounds familiar. Marianne closed the book. I want to start a fund for whistleblowers. Scholarships, maybe legal aid. Name it after her. Maybe after the clinic. So it belongs to everyone she tried to protect. He nodded. You've got time to decide. That afternoon, neighbors stopped by with casseroles and soft questions. Some remembered her mother. Others only knew the story from television. Marianne answered gently, steering toward ordinary talk gardens. Groceries, the baby's sleep schedule. When they left, the house smelled of baked bread and damp earth. Evan was stacking boxes in the pantry when he said, Feels strange having people around again? It does, she said, but right somehow. He dried his hands and leaned against the counter. This place was never haunted, just waiting. Maybe we both were. The baby stirred a faint, restless sound. She lifted him and whispered, You'll never have to wonder who we are. You'll know. Evan adjusted the curtains, letting the porch light spill in. The world looked softer, washed clean. Dinner came late. They ate at the old table her mother once used, the air carrying traces of lemon soap and soil. Marianne laughed at something small he said about the neighbors and was briefly startled by how natural it felt. When she started to clear the plates, Evan stopped her. Leave it. Tomorrow. She didn't argue. She sat on the couch, the baby pressed against her chest. His breathing was steady, his warmth anchoring her to the present. Evan turned off the radio. The stillness that followed felt complete, alive, not empty. Marianne rested her head back. Do you think it ever really ends? He thought before answering. No, it just changes shape. She nodded, tracing soft circles on the baby's back. The clock ticked without rush. Rain returned, light and even brushing the roof in a rhythm that felt familiar, now not threatening. Marianne let her eyes close. Evan moved somewhere nearby, his steps unhurried. The baby's breath rose and fell against her. The house, once full of ghosts and noise, simply held them quiet, ordinary, whole.